Hello and welcome to the Learn How to See Better podcast, the only podcast out there known to actually improve your vision the longer you listen. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I'm glad you've joined me here today. I can't wait to share some great information with you about how to improve your health, wealth, and relationships. So let's get right down to it, shall we? What's up, everybody? This is Drew Davis, welcoming you all back to the Learn How to See Better podcast, where we are wrapping up the fifth of 5 episodes about how to learn how to see better. In my mind's eye, I see it broken down into about 5 different pieces, and I've been doing my best to share some of that with you guys, and I'll give you a quick recap of what these 5 pieces are, and then I'll launch into the last one. Number 1 is vision. You got to have a bigger vision of the bigger picture. It's just seeing the overall setup that you have for your life. And then when it comes to looking at the world and from a better standpoint and seeing the world better externally through reflection, it's where you're essentially looking back on the recent events, reviewing those in your life to find out what's going on, seeing what ways you can make sense of it to start to recognize opportunities for change, just like reviewing the game tape. And then there's introspection. This is where it goes a little bit deeper internally, where you might be meditating, you might be just taking the time to ask yourself some of the deeper questions about what you're experiencing in your life, because that's really when you get the opportunity to be honest with yourself and look into the mirror to say, what have I done to create this life I'm experiencing? And then most recently, we covered redirection, #unlearn. This is where you have the change of perspective that lets you see things in a whole new way. It's like throwing on those cool blue groovy magic sunglasses from Pete the Cat. But on a separate note, expansion, the 5th of the 5, that's where you introduce new learning. And that's really just stretching your mind's ability to see based on actually widening the field of view that you can see from. And I can't drive this point home better than to share the first time I had the chance to expand my field of view. As you've gotten to know me a little bit better, you've learned about some of my, evolution, so to speak, from employee to entrepreneur. And that all got started really initially with a home-based business, and then that moved into real estate. And one of the things that I learned was when I went to go try and be a landlord for the first time. It was funny. I didn't know a thing about it. I was just getting serious with my then girlfriend and now wife. And, she wanted to get to a point where she could buy her own home. And I already owned my home. And it's like, okay, well, that's great, honey. You want to buy a house. But, it's, the times right now in this market, the house is upside down. Can't sell it. Don't know what to do. That's not going to work. But I thought maybe I can rent it out and be like a landlord, because I knew absolutely nothing about real estate. And I remember closing out my email one day and seeing this ad pop up talking about, this free 2-hour workshop to learn about real estate. I said, oh man, go to this free, little workshop. I could get some good tips on how to be a landlord. And I was a genius, right? Go get some free education. I'll have everything that I need. And because it was like I realized what I was going down the path of doing something new that I didn't know about. And so I need to get a little bit of education, right? I don't want to, do something that's illogical or have a bad experience, because you'd hear about some of the horror stories with people and real estate, especially where the market was back in the 08-09 time frame, just a short decade ago. And it was funny, when I went to this workshop, I was just amazed and completely blown away, because not only did I not know much about real estate, I furthermore only knew that, you can only make money as, the mailbox money they talk about by being a landlord and dealing with tenants, toilets, termites, and trash. Or you could be one of these TV show guys, flipping houses left and right. And in my mind, that was the only ways you could make money in real estate. And lo and behold, the instructor that day was talking about, half a dozen, like 7 to 9 different ways to make money in real estate. And it blew me away to think, what in the world? And these were big numbers they were talking. Of course, it's, a seminar where they're promoting real estate investing. So they're sharing people's success stories. And I thought, wow, these are people making in one deal, what most people make in a year. How could this be? Been fishing in the desert this whole time. What's going on? I want a piece of the action. And it was such a wake up call for me to recognize that through this process of expansion and going and learning a little bit more, I was actually having the opportunity to participate in just changing my entire life. Because the part I failed to mention was, I got so much information that was useful for me out of this little free deal when they were offering, a weekend event that you could bring a friend and pay a few $100. I said, oh my gosh, if I got this much for free, why wouldn't I throw a couple of bucks at this? And you know what? It was like the whole thing happened again. My head got smashed like a pumpkin, and it was just, oh my goodness, my world was shattered because of the way that so much more information got packed into my brain about this particular investment industry. Things I'd never been exposed to, never would have thought to have learned or would have gotten access to from my formalized education. And it just blew my mind to think, wow, when people do this for a living, this is their business. Why did it take me so long to hear about it? I was just amazed. And so, what you find is that had I not been willing to first, unlearn, to recognize, the different pieces that I was just talking about, from a vision standpoint, to understand that there is a bigger opportunity out there for us all if we're only willing to see it and entertain the idea. I had had the opportunity to reflect on the situation, to say, here's what I knew I didn't want, and I wanted to look forward to something better. I was able to dig deep within myself and say, hey, if this is something that's just a shiny object, let it be. But if you think there's real potential in this for you to pursue, maybe it's something worthy of giving a little extra thought to. And then, of course, unlearning the idea of like who pays for education outside of, formalized, institutionalized learning, i.e., a junior college, a community college, a state university, or a state school or university for your college, right? And so, because I'd gone through all these processes in different bits and pieces in different phases of my life, a lot of them around this same time window, I was ready for expansion. I was ready to pour in new concepts and entertain the idea that this could be something that you could either use part-time to make a little extra on the side and enhance your living, or you can do it to make a fortune and go all in with it. And that was so amazing to me to have that opportunity, to have those options. And I ended up taking the bull by the horn, and it was pretty dang scary because it was this new vehicle that I was in that was so far gone from the traditional way of doing things, having gone through college and looking at building a career, based around corporate America. Never could I have imagined that I'd be doing something, in the nights and evenings to build my future, and in a million years couldn't imagine that a decade later that I would be free from the Iron Maiden of corporate America as a real estate entrepreneur, having success at it. And so it amazes me to think that the ups and downs of this entire journey have ended with achievements that in my mind are respectable, even though I never imagined this and certainly never set out for it. Close to 20 years ago when I was going through college, just looking to get hired on to a place where I could work the next 3 or 4 or 5 decades. So the speed at which life can change and become enhanced when someone is willing to learn how to see better and understand there are multiple different ways that one has to go through learning how to see better to see the totalitarian effect of this growth process. And so I'm happy to share that these multiple ways and multiple areas of learning how to see better have been what have served me and what I'm confident am very confident would be able to play a role in your life as well, because you have multiple different ways that you can get there, so to speak. And they all involve some time, some effort, some focus, and some growth. None of these things is an instant overnight type of scenario, but in a remarkably short time frame, it's something that you see builds upon itself, and seeing better in one category leads to being able to see better in other categories until you find yourself just really leveling up and just living with clarity. And that's something that I would hope that everyone would get to participate in, that transformation, because it is just joyous. Yeah. So I wanted to share those thoughts with all of you and let you know that these components will be something I'll be referencing at various different points as we go through these podcast episodes, and I take you through the different things that I'm continuing to learn present day and looking ahead, because I think that most of my super nuggets that I've stumbled across and my big ha-has have fallen in one of these particular areas, or as a direct result of one of these different learn how to see better components. So that kind of wraps up the series that I've got for teaching you how to learn how to see better at a high level from a structured outline perspective. Now we're going to get right back into taking you through it and some of the variety of other specific lessons that I've learned and how they've served me in learning how to see better. And that's where I'm hoping you all can continue to get more from these experiences, and being able to kind of siphon off of some of the knowledge that I'm getting and be able to impart it into your own worlds. Because here in the information age, there can be a lot of noise in the universe, but if you can get tuned into a good channel like this one and have it resonate on your brain and give you some positive thinking to go out into your day so you can crush it, that is my goal and objective. So again, as always, as we're signing out, I wanted to thank you for joining. Be sure to tell a friend, tag a friend, share this, like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know it. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks. Well, all right. That was some great content, wasn't it? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I want to thank you for listening to the Learn How to See Better podcast today. And don't forget to subscribe and tune in for future episodes, and be sure to share with a friend if you are enjoying this content. Thanks, and see you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.